Hello and thanks for joining us. This is the Signature 30 Minutes. I am Obomanu Marvelous. In the headlines, Nigerian Airforce crash victims buried amongst tears. Ahead of the 2023 election, Nigerian women begin a push for more positions in Nigerian politics. Nigerian government to commence prosecution of 5,000 Boko Haram suspects. And now the details. The Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talin, has stressed the need to create awareness and interagency collaboration towards ending sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. She made the call at a multi-agency consultative meeting on the implementation of Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act on Wednesday in Abuja. The minister, who was represented by the ministry's permanent secretary, Antonia Akpabio, said that data and information sharing amongst stakeholders will help strengthen the sexual offenders register. Signature TV correspondent Obomanu Marvelous brings us the report. The Director General of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, Iman Suleiman, said there is an ongoing advocacy to make the agency's voice loud for victims of sexual and gender-based violence to know that they are not alone. Suleiman, who stressed the need to empower vulnerable persons facing one form of violence or another, called for support to implement the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act.
We've seen a rise and a spike in violence against persons and also in our TIP cases. It's very important that we coordinate efforts to ensure that we continue to win against this fight. The issues of violence against persons and trafficking in persons are issues that are induced by economic needs. The more people are empowered, the less accessible they are and the less vulnerable they become.
Restating the readiness of the police to cooperate with other agencies, the Inspector General of Police, represented by AIG Garuba Umar, said the force has set up a department where cases of social and gender-based violence are handled. He stated that the force is training and retraining officers in the fight against gender violence. The IGP attributed the failure of implementing the act to weak information sharing among stakeholders.
The force gender officer has been directed to regularly coordinate and collect SGB data across the police commands and formation, including FCT, to ensure the force have a near accurate data of SGBB and violence against children. There is also an ongoing drafting and validation of sexual and gender-based violence training manual for Nigerian Police Force.
The Controller General, Nigeria Correctional Service, Haliru Nababa, represented by ACG Daniel Otaro, said that the service has data of sexual and gender-based violators in prison custody all over the country. He assured National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons of the agency's readiness to make available pictures of perpetrators.
We have information from all state commands and all prisons all over the Federation on those who have committed this offense and are in custody. Those who have committed offense of rape that are in our custody presented here is 4,763. We will continue to support the activities of NATIP whenever we are called upon.
The Director, Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program, Priscilla Nukuro, said they were partnering with the European Union and the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons to introduce the Sexual Offenders Register. Although the register had made significant progress, she said more work needs to be done to streamline and have corresponding data by all agencies working to end sexual violence. She said that the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program support the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Anti-Human Trafficking Gender Unit, Nigerian Police Force Gender Unit, and others with equipment to enable them become more efficient.
In order to support Nigeria's fight against sexual and gender-based violence, the European Union, through its Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program, which is implemented by the British Council, has supported the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, and other security agencies to develop and establish a sex offenders register in line with Section 1, subsection 4 of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015.
The meeting ended with all stakeholders promising to do more in realigning and sharing data across all agencies with a view to ending all forms of sexual and gender-based violence. Obomano Marvelous, Signature TV, Abuja. Lawyers holding brief for the family of late Ijoma Nneka, the trending Enugu makeup artist who was allegedly murdered by two siblings, Emeka Ifezwe and Chiamaka Ifezwe, have declared that they have enough evidence and proof against the suspects. The lawyers made this known after the court proceedings at the Enugu North Customary Court yesterday while briefing journalists on the outcome of the court proceedings. According to Barrister Chukwudozie Okafor, the prosecuting team is satisfied that it has evidence and proof that the two suspects killed the deceased, late Ijoma Nneka. The campaign to create more consciousness on the need for greater participation of women in Nigerian politics got more push on Tuesday as a women pressure group assembled stakeholders to canvass the merits of women in politics. Nigerian women have been canvassing for an affirmative action to give 30% of all political positions to the women. Again, Signature TV correspondent Michael Ilediago reports that the women do not seem to be in a mood to compromise on their demand for the involvement of more women in Nigerian politics.
The fresh push to get more women in Nigeria into mainstream politics, whether in elective or appointive positions, is coming from a pressure group, the Nigerian Feminist Forum, NFF. In Enugu on Tuesday, the group assembled representatives of some political parties, key leaders of civil society organizations, and the media to articulate the challenges facing Nigerian women in politics.
Naturally, a woman has been created to be a woman. It's that there are certain things that a woman should do and certain things that a woman should not do. For instance, based on the nature of women, they cannot participate actively. They can participate, but not actively in politics. Especially in Africa, a situation whereby you have meetings upon meetings upon meetings upon meetings, 2 a.m. meeting, 3 a.m. meetings, 4 a.m. meetings, 5 a.m. meetings. How can naturally even their natural being cannot even contain that? Then another one is the religious background. Every religion believes that a woman is second-hand. In the sense that even to date in Nigeria, many of us who are Catholic still find it difficult seeing women as massacres. Or taken for instance, or when a woman is called up to come and preach in the church, they have this concept of that it is something that is abnormal, something that is an aberration, unusual. Another thing, naturally, that is because of their emotions, and that is where men capitalize most on.
Financing the election is one of their challenges.
It's an issue. Sometimes we don't have women who are interested. It starts with interest. We don't see women who are interested in governance, in politics.
The Nigerian Feminist Forum, however, feels that the identified challenges are not insurmountable. Spokesperson for the forum, Chinonso Ikechukwu, and another member, Blessing Duru, laid out what the forum believes are the solutions to the challenges identified at the Tuesday meeting.
We find out that if we prefer solutions to these challenges, women will be able to come out to contest for elections and also demand for spaces in political positions. Yes, male dominance over women. They believe that men are superior. They believe that a man is superior to a woman and therefore whatever he says stands. So dismantling patriarchy is one of the issues that we have, and I believe that once we dismantle patriarchy, it's going to go a long way to make women come out, because already they have the capacity. So, but patriarchy is part of the issues. Patriarchy is a hold down to a woman to actively be herself.
And for us, our mandate is to see how do we dismantle structures, patriarchal systems, norms that has held women bound for so long. The world is moving, and Nigeria has to move.
Beside the answers to the challenges against women participation in politics enumerated by the Nigerian Feminist Forum, some lawyers at the event also canvassed for a more friendly legal framework that can ease entry and effective participation of women in Nigerian politics.
We need to come out from analog. We need to go into electronic voting and electronic processes of doing everything about elections, because it will help in reducing violence. The kind of violence we encounter in Nigerian politics has made it so difficult and discouraging for women and the youth to participate in politics. So we've identified that as one of the major reforms that can take place. And then if we can also have a reform, a law that will be more gender sensitive, where women, some positions, some slots can be given to women. It will help them to participate. We have some other clients that have that. There are some positions given to women, in addition to the ones they can contest with men. I think even with these two major reforms, more women will participate in politics.
So when we talk about women inclusion, it's not something like a rocket science, but it's about encouraging the ladies, women around us, to be able to participate in governance and also achieve their full potential and make their necessary contributions.
The push for the participation of women in Nigerian politics must, however, overcome pervasive religious inhibition, culture and tradition that frown at the exposure of women to politics, and the characterization of the good family women, which excludes all virtue women from politics, perceives only good for irresponsible and loose women.
As the remains of Flight Lieutenant Haruna Gadzama, the brave pilot that averted a near disaster in Abuja along with 6 of his colleagues, have been buried at the National Military Cemetery, Abuja on Thursday, the Nigerian Air Force has vowed to expose and fight the sponsors of extremism in the country. Other victims were Flight Lieutenant Henry Pio, co-pilot, Flying Officer Michael Okpara, Airborne Tactical Observation System Specialist, and Warrant Officer Basi Etim, Flight Sergeant Olasukami Olawumi, Sergeant Ugochukwu Oloka, and Aircraftman Adewale Johnson, on-board technician. The bodies were lowered into the grave at exactly 1 p.m. and accorded full military honors and a traditional 21 gunshot salute. It was an emotional event as colleagues of the late officers, including the Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Oladayo Amao, wives and family members of the deceased, wept uncontrollably. The Chief of Air Staff, while describing the deceased officers as courageous heroes in whom the force has so much confidence, assured that Nigerian Air Force would throw in everything to ensure that the deceased officers do not die in vain. Last Sunday, a Nigerian Air Force aircraft crashed in Abuja, killing all 7 Air Force personnel on board. As their remains are laid to rest this Thursday at the National Military Cemetery in Abuja, many Nigerians mourn and condole with the families of the bereaved, urging the government to always enforce high safety standards that safeguard the nation's servicemen who risk their lives in the service of the nation. Signature TV correspondent Chibueze Obi went to the streets of Abuja to feel the pulse of the residents on this latest crash.
My condolences go to their family and to the Nigerian Air Force and Nigerians at large. May God accept their gentle souls and forgive them their shortcomings. From speculations, they are saying the aircraft, there is no maintenance, engine this, engine that. So the engineers should have more instead of all losing lives.
The military officers that we've lost, that is a very pity. So we pray that may their soul rest in peace and may their family have patience to bear with the loss they have. At least Nigeria, the loss we have in our, not even these ones that died recently, but previous ones that have died is a great loss to the country.
I have to sympathize on the family. May their gentle rest in peace. The young ones has gone. Everybody is going when your time reach. But the government should do a very good effort to make sure that whenever they are, let's say, taking to the aircraft, they should check it before people will start to enter.
Based on the information we have received, it was a failure of engine of the air. As a result of failure of that engine, that the aircraft crashed. What I will appeal to their families is I want to condole them. May their soul of them rest in perfect peace. And aside that, Nigerians will have to be cautious of the insecurity, because this incident that took place was as a result of that the fact that the banditry in Niger State.
The federal government has stated that it will commence proceedings on the arraignment of 5,000 suspected Boko Haram members in various detention facilities across the country. This was stated by the Director General of Legal Aid Council, Aliyu Abubakar, during a courtesy visit to Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum at the Maiduguri Government House on Thursday. According to Abubakar, the inmates were detained at Giwa Barak, Maiduguri and Kainji Correctional Facilities, among others, over their alleged involvement in the activities of Boko Haram. He said that the trial would be conducted by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, Office of the National Security Advisor, in collaboration with the Theater Commander, Operation Lafia Dole, while the Legal Aid Council was mandated to provide defense for the inmates during the hearing of the case. The Director General said that no matter the time of crime they committed, they were entitled to a trial instead of the continued detention. The Lagos State government has announced that the third mainland bridge will be closed from midnight on Friday to Saturday midnight to enable the evacuation of the equipment used for its reconstruction before finally allowing the Oworonshoki and Adeniji-bound lanes to open freely to traffic. The 24-hour closure of the bridge was announced on Wednesday in a statement issued in Lagos by the Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladeinde. Motorists from Ogudu, Alapere and Bagada have therefore been advised by the Commissioner, who said the closure was needed following the replacement of the 12th expansion joints and to demobilize the superstructure of the bridge to use alternative routes like Ikorodu Road, Jibowu and Yaba. While Iyana Oworonshoki bound traffic from Lagos Island, Ido, Oyimbo, Adekule and Yaba are enjoined to use Herbert Macaulay Way, Jibowu and Ikorodu Road as alternative routes, assuring that traffic management personnel will be available to control traffic while the bridge is closed. The Commissioner also appreciated Lagosians for their cooperation during the lengthy reconstruction of the bridge, assuring that it is now safe for all to use. A United Nations panel has called for punitive actions against bankers, lawyers, and accountants who enable financial crimes, saying governments around the world can finance critical action on extreme poverty, COVID-19, and climate crisis by recovering billions of dollars lost through tax abuse, corruption, and money laundering. The panel of former world leaders and central bank governors, business and civil society heads, and academics said as much as 2.7% of the global GDP is laundered annually, while corporations shipping around for tax-free jurisdictions cost governments up to $600 billion a year. The high-level panel on international financial accountability, transparency, and integrity for achieving the 2030 Agenda panel called on governments to agree on a global pact for financial integrity for sustainable development. The Federal High Court, Abuja, on Thursday refused to grant fresh bail to the former chairman of the defunct Pension Reform Task Force, Abdulrasheed Maina. Ruling on the matter, the judge Okon Abang said Maina, who jumped bail last year, has disappointed the court. He said the defendant, who is being prosecuted for laundering $2 billion in pension funds, failed to place sufficient materials before the court to support his first application for bail. Maina, earlier granted bail by the judge, evaded trial and fled to the Republic of Niger last year. The defendant, whose escape landed his shorty Ali Ndume, a serving senator, in jail for a few days, was later apprehended after the court issued a warrant for his arrest. Maina was brought back to court on December 4, 2020, even though the judge had ensured his trial continued in his absence. He had barely spent 3 weeks in remand when he filed another bail application on December 24th, asking for fresh bail anchored on his alleged deteriorating health. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), the anti-corruption agency prosecuting him before Justice Abang, had opposed the fresh bail application, insisting that the man was not deserving of a second chance. The Olu Political Consultative Assembly (OPOCA), a political body in Olu Senatorial District of Imo State, has advised Senator Rochas Okorocha to apologize to Imo State government over his action on government-sealed property. The group made the demand at a news conference in Owerri and threatened to initiate the recall of Okorocha from the National Assembly if he failed to apologize to the state. Rex Anunobi, national president of the group, said that Okorocha behaved in a way unbecoming of a former governor and a senator when he allegedly arranged with some boys to break a property sealed by the state government. Anunobu called on Governor Zodimma not to be distracted by what it called the antics of the former governor, but fully activate all instruments of the law and state powers to recover all that they were looted by Okorocha and his family. The Kebbi State Commissioner for Works and Transport, Abubakar Ladan, has announced that the federal government has taken over the Sir Ahmadu Bello International Airport in Kebbi State. Ladan, who made a disclosure to newsmen on Thursday in Benin, Kebbi, said the airport had not been sold to any private individual, contrary to rumors. He explained that the federal government had taken over 10 of such airports after their completion by state governments. The commissioner said that President Muhammadu Buhari had approved the refund of the cost of building the airport to the Yobe State government in March 2020. According to him, the letter sent to the state showed that President Buhari had approved the refund of 16 billion naira to the state government, being the amount spent to construct the airport. Troubled financial company Deep Capital Management and Trust PLC is struggling to overcome its financial woes as investors make a run on the company, even as the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria (AMCON) is seizing properties owned by the company's directors. Deep Capital is indebted to AMCON to the tune of 1.6 billion, and it is struggling to raise funds at the capital market, making it difficult for Deep Capital to meet its financial obligations. The company is said to be owing AMCON following the government agency's decision to buy over some banks' debts. These banks are said to have lent Deep Capital the said amount, which eventually turned into held debts. Following the takeover of certain banks, AMCON became the owner of the assets and debts. In a bid to effect the recovery of the debt owned by Deep Capital, AMCON, in line with January 18, 2020 ruling of Justice C.J. Aneke of the Federal High Court Lagos Division, took over assets owned by 14 directors at Deep Capital. And now the stock market reports. Transactions on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed red on Thursday as the market could not sustain the 2 days consecutive gains. The market closed blue on Tuesday and Wednesday with over 35.1 billion naira gain. However, on Thursday, the market shed 65.8 billion naira on the equity capitalization to close at 20.97 trillion naira from 21 trillion traded on Wednesday. All the market indices, the equity capitalization, the all-share index, the volume, the value, and the total number of deals consequently closed in the negative. The all-share index fell to 40,095.49 points from 40,022.3 points at the close of business on Wednesday. 326 million shares exchanged hands on the floor, which is a reduction from 469.56 million, a 30.56% fall. The value similarly fell by 3.36 billion naira. This was a reduction from 7 billion naira on Wednesday to 3.7 billion on Thursday. The downturn was aggravated by losses recorded in medium and large capitalized stocks, which include Zenith Bank, Owando plc, United Capital plc, Dangote Sugar and UBA, which traded over 16 million shares each. There were 14 gainers and 24 losers. Champs plc and Royal Exchange plc dominated the gainers chart among the 14 gainers. On the other hand, Lasco led the losers side. Other top losers include Fitsin 80 and Mutual Benefit Insurance plc. Before we end the news, a recap of our major stories. The remains of Flight Lieutenant Haruna Gatzama, along with 6 other Air Force personnel, have been buried at the National Military Cemetery. Ahead of the 2023 election, Nigerian women begin a push for more positions in Nigerian politics. The federal government has stated that it will commence proceedings on the arraignment of 5,000 suspected Boko Haram members in various detention facilities across the country. Please do well to stay safe, maintain physical and social distance, and wear your nose masks while going about your daily activities. And that's the signature 30 minutes. On behalf of my producer, Anita Eze, I am Obomano Marvelous. Thanks for watching.